What's going on, everyone? This is Realtor Joe Samona, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of Your Cup of Joe. Today, I have with me one of the inspectors that all of my clients love, actually, the only inspector that all my clients love, but an inspector that goes above and beyond, and an inspector who gives some of the best inspection report that goes in depth and that truly explains to you everything, and who takes his time and provides all the services that you could think of as it relates to the actual home inspection. Today I have with me Greg Vishey. Greg, please introduce yourself for everyone.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I am Greg Vishey, and I'm a member of the American Society for Home Inspectors, ASHI, and I inspect predominantly from about the Detroit area all the way up through the top of the thumb.
What is ASHI, and how long have you been a home inspector?
Okay, ASHI is the American Society for Home Inspectors. It's a professional organization that oversees the standards that inspectors are supposed to comply with. It also, in terms of vetting the inspectors, makes sure that they have passed a proctored exam, which is something that you can't do over the internet with an open book. ASHI establishes a series of procedures for inspection of houses, pools, roofs, and a lot of the other components of a home to make sure that minimum standards are fulfilled by every inspector who does an inspection for a client.
Got it. So do you have to be in the state of Michigan? Do you have to be a member of ASHI in order to inspect a home and declare yourself a home inspector?
No, you can be unemployed and with former telecom experience and decide that you're going to be a home inspector tomorrow and hang a shingle up. And if you're able to get jobs, you can do inspections. There's no licensing in the state of Michigan. A lot of people say, oh my God, we have to have licensing. I would just caution everybody that having a driver's license doesn't mean you know how to drive. There are a lot of people who can't drive. However, licensing would probably filter out about the bottom 5 or 10% of people who shouldn't be in that career and take them away from causing damage to people's transactions and people's risk. As far as my length of inspecting, I've been doing this for 26 years. And in that time, I started as a member of the National Association of Home Inspectors, NAHI, and that organization ended up going bankrupt in about, I think it was 2016. And all the NAHI inspectors rolled under ASHI. And we've been, because our standards were all very, very similar at that point. So we're all ASHI members now, and that means that we have continuing education. We have a series of things that we have to do to maintain our credentials. And I would encourage anybody who's looking for an inspector to actually shop around and try to find somebody who's properly qualified, because the variation in people who inspect is all over the map.
Got it. What did you do before home inspections?
Well, actually, during home inspections, I was an engineer in automotive, aerospace, and defense. And I spent close to 27 years in engineering. And in 1998, a very close friend of mine asked me to inspect a house for him. And I said, his name was Jim. And I said, Jim, there are people who do that. Why would you ask me to do that? He goes, well, you're the only person I trust. You're a geek. You understand houses really well. You understand a lot of things. He goes, I'd like you to inspect it for me. So I did. I did so only after auditing close to 24 different inspection reports to find out what other people were doing out there. And when I took a good hard look at what type of product inspectors were delivering, I was appalled. And I even looked at the one that I paid for when I bought my house in Grosse Pointe Woods, and I couldn't believe, for example, electrical system, house has a main panel, check. What the heck does that mean? It means nothing. And that's what I had paid $300 for at the time, and that's what everybody else was paying $350 for at the time. This is 25 years ago. And I literally was appalled at what was happening. So I sat down and I asked myself what should be done. And I created a longer list of items and attributes that related to the inspection process, and I started there. Once I joined ASHI, I amended my reports to make sure I fulfilled all of their standards as well. And I've been doing that ever since. I also teach home inspection as a result of all the activity I've done in this trade.
For as long as I've known you, which is even prior to me being a licensed agent, when my God rest his soul, and my late dad was an agent, and actually a associate broker and then a broker. You have always provided unparalleled customer service. And one thing I respect about you the most is how you tell the client that they are your client, not the realtor. And as realtors, you have to realize that the inspector doesn't work for you. They weren't hired by you. Even if you called to schedule the appointment, they work for the client. They are providing an inspection report for the client. And that's one thing that I respect a lot about you, which a lot of realtors some realtors may have a hard time accepting. The ones that I am very close with don't have a hard time accepting that, because we understand that
Right.
you work for the clients.
As an inspector, you have to be brave enough to possibly alienate a realtor that you've not known before, who has never met you or is not familiar with your work, by taking care of the client. And in the end, you cast your dice as to whether they ever will give you a referral again based on the excellence of your work. And you have to stand behind that. If you are catering to somebody else's whims, you stand a really good chance of compromising your integrity and compromising the content of your report. And as you're probably well aware, I do my best to take care of the client. One of the positions that I have is that the inspection tells you when it's done. It's the house. It's not me. I will go through the report. I will stay afterwards and answer all the questions that the client has at that point. And I ask them when I can leave. They are in control. I work for them. And by giving my hard work sincerely across the table to them, and then following up with a very complete report that includes all the conversation and all the items that we discussed, I think that I've done my job properly.
Absolutely. And I could tell you firsthand, I could tell everybody listening and watching firsthand, that Greg will stay as long as you need to answer all the questions. Greg is available afterwards for questions. It's not a, hey, I'm done, that's it, I got paid, I'm out of here, I provided the report. Greg always makes himself readily available. Greg, you've inspected homes from what would be small by definition to...
Yeah, the smallest home was about 450 square feet. Believe
What's
it or not, they actually make a house that small.
Really?
Yeah. The largest, I think, was, I want to say 15 or 16,000 square feet.
Wow.
Not including commercial work, where I've done as many as 18 building commercial production campuses.
Aside from commercial inspections and residential inspections, you also provide mold inspections. Do you have to be certified for that?
You don't have to be certified to that, but I am. I do. Basically, I'm a troubleshooter for homes. People who have odd odors, odd sounds, strange behavior of the electrical system, or strange creaking, or they've got new cracks. Often we can try to figure out whether this is caused by humidity, caused by settling, caused by moisture damage, whether it might be inside of walls, under floors. As you're probably aware, there was a situation where water across the floor was creating mold up on a floor joist for the first floor structure. And sometimes it's just that cause and effect relationship obvious. Sometimes it's really, really subtle, and it takes a while to figure these things out. I take a lot of pride in being able to troubleshoot houses. I've been working with real estate now for, including the times that I've renovated homes, probably 35, 40 years. So that's an awful lot of experience to try to figure out what's wrong.
Yeah. I know you inspect homes all over. You know, you said you go up and to the thumb, um, and I know I've had you inspect a rather large resort in Houghton Lake, so 2.5 hours away from the Metro Detroit area. So I know you go all over. Would you say predominantly that a lot of your inspections take place in the Tri-County area?
Yes.
And you're familiar with homes in the area, you're familiar with the area specifically, what the area is common for, what the area is known for the most part.
Yeah, you see a lot of patterns in a lot of the houses that you inspect. Two houses, for example, can look exactly alike, one next to the other. One could be made with 2x3 trusses holding up the roof, and the other could be stick built with 2x8 joists holding up the roof. There's a huge difference in terms of the strength between the two houses, but they'll typically be listed for the same amount because they're in the same area, the same square footage, and people don't know that one house is significantly different compared to the other. An inspector knows that. A good inspector knows that.
Absolutely. But can you tell us, when you inspect the homes, no home is going to be perfect. And even if you build your own home, and even if you have the perfect builder, there's going to be things that happen that are beyond the control of anyone. It just happens by nature, things that don't end up perfect. But in homes that you inspect, if you could tell us what the top three most common issues that you see arise in homes, or that you see that something is wrong or needs to be fixed or needs attention in homes across the board, what would you say those top three issues are?
Exterior water management is poor. Electrical has been tampered with, typically by the homeowner, and there are usually defects in the roof. Those are the top three.
You know, that's one of them that you mentioned is something that the roof is, the water management and the gutters and the downspouts is something that I'm very, very familiar with, from your knowledge that you've passed on to me. And it's like sometimes you may see water in the basement, and I could say, in my opinion, that probably 9 out of 10 times it's because the downspouts are not draining far enough away from the house. So that's one of the things. And the roof is, yeah, when people don't pay attention to their roof and don't realize if it's neglected and maybe may not have the knowledge of it in most cases, that's an issue as well. As far as electrical, I've seen this on a lot of the inspection reports that you provide. You may have give me the name of a brand of a type of panel, and anyone.
Square D, ITT,
ITT. And then give me the name of another one.
Siemens.
Okay, you have a ITT, and then you have a Siemens. You have one Siemens breaker on there, but you have an ITT panel. It works. It flips the switch. It flips the breaker. It turns it on. It turns it off. Why do you need to be worried about that?
Yeah, you can actually put a GE type THQL, a Siemens type QP, a Square D type HOM breaker in virtually any panel that occupies or that takes a normal standard breaker size. They will all function. They will all trip if there's an overcurrent condition. The problem is that most of those breakers are not rated for use in that panel. And if you're using a breaker that's not rated for use in the panel, it's kind of like using the wrong airbag in a car. What you're doing is you're invalidating the manufacturer's certification for that product. And if something goes wrong, then you are really risking the insurability of the home. Your insurance company has the right to come back and say, we are not going to honor a claim on your house because somebody has adulterated the electrical system, and we believe that the fire was caused by electrical defects. And that gets to be really important. Sometimes it's as little as a $10 breaker is potentially going to be at risk of jeopardizing the insurability of the home in the event of loss.
Wow, that's something else. Greg, you have compiled through your years of decades of work and experience a checklist that you give to the buyers, or do you fill it out? I know it's here with us today, but for those that are listening and not watching, what is this checklist?
Oh, I have a buyer's checklist on my website. And the whole point of that is to help somebody as you're buying a house, especially if you're a first time buyer and you've never done this before, make sure you check off all the important things that you need to do as a buyer so that you don't miss anything important. So there's, I think it's 17 items on the checklist. It's right on my website, a1-homeinspection.com. And dash is the same as a hyphen, not an underscore, but a1-homeinspection.com. And if you go there, that checklist will help you pick through things like how you should choose an inspector, what you should look for in a report, how much time usually goes into a contract. And a lot of home buyers don't know that every term of the offer that they're going to make on the house that they're buying is subject to negotiation. They can ask the sellers to hand them the keys in their pajamas if they want, with fuzzy bunny slippers. Sellers could reject it, but they can ask for that. So most buyers fall into a pattern of just going with standard reports and standard inspection clauses. And God help the people who get talked into doing a 3-day inspection clause, because you'll not be able to find an inspector typically within a 3-day period. And the timing of the contract is the number 4 on the list. Get the permit history, check receipts for warranty coverage, and well, I'd say go to the website and take a look at the list. There's 17 items on it.
Absolutely. And one of the things I want to touch on is about warranties. You want to make sure that they're also transferable, because
Right.
sometimes they're not transferable. So they may say we have a 10-year warranty on a specific product, or it's a 25-year warranty on the roof. But if it's not transferable, what does that warranty mean?
Well, take a look at the Bryant warranty on, there was a nationwide service campaign on Bryant Plus 90 furnaces. And the original owner had a very generous warranty from the manufacturer. The second owner gets nothing. So in cases where people are buying a house that has a 90 plus furnace, I would tell them, check with a licensed Bryant Carrier Payne day-night dealer, which is all under United Technologies, and have them check with the manufacturer on the registration of that unit. If it's never been registered, then that buyer can be the first owner. And that changes things substantially in terms of cost, because a furnace is about $3,600.
Wow. You've been doing this, you said, for 25 years, 26 years?
26 years this year.
As a home inspector. Would you say, and it's okay to boast, I'm boasting about you, would you say that you are pretty much, you have gotten certifications for almost everything inspection related that you don't need certifications for services that you provide?
Well, actually, being an engineer supersedes some of those. There are things that I've done. I have a background in nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare, so my qualifications in testing for radiation and mold and moisture damage and other things, I've been very well vetted and trained in those areas as an engineer. I sometimes get certifications in the industry to supplement what I have, but to me, it's fun. I love all this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your passion for it. Even though you've been in the business for the amount of time that you've been in there, 26 years, 25, 26 years, do you still find yourself still learning every day, or do you still find yourself researching things to bring you up to speed?
Oh, yeah. I'd say probably about every 5th inspection, I learn something new. So what I do is I constantly go through and I adjust my inspection template. And I have a USB drive that gets handed off to all my clients after the inspection that has my entire information library in it, which is all the intellectual property that I've gathered over the years trying to figure out how houses work and what makes them break and how you fix them. So that's something that I deliver as part of my report. Most people don't talk about things like that. There are other inspection types that have binders that go out. Mine is a live document. It constantly changes.
Got it. No, that's I've noticed that too. Some of the small changes and whatnot. I've noticed that. And what I like is you'll put on your inspection report, like the estimated cost to repair, fix, replace an item, and you say, if it's much more, call me. If it's much less, call me. Call me anytime you want. But that's a red flag if it's a lot more or if it's a lot less. So let me know that.
And I warn everybody, I can't predict greed. So, I mean, if somebody wants to overcharge on a contract, and I've seen this happen where $2,000 chimney repairs were quoted at $26,000. If somebody's willing to sign a contract for that, that's what the guy's going to get out of you.
Yeah, and we just had one where it was a chimney repair where I think it was supposed to be $20,000 to $30,000, but the guy did the right job, but just ended up doing it at a much lower price, more efficiently, which is great. Greg, before we wrap up, outside of your professional work, I do want to commend you. You do a lot of charity work. From what I understand, you'll attend charity events.
Yes, I do. I'm also on the board of directors for the Children's Discovery Center in Mount Clemens. So anybody who has children in the Mount Clemens area, we have a wonderful hands-on type facility that we're currently open weekends. And anybody who wants to stop by 54 Cherry Street in downtown Mount Clemens, would love to see you.
Absolutely. Greg, I want to thank you so much for coming on here today. It means so much to me. I know it means a lot to my clients, especially those that have dealt with you in the past, who see you again and they say, "Oh, this person's not after just the one inspection report. They actually care and they actually take pride in it." And you provide a service that no other inspector that I've used has ever provided. And for that, I'm grateful. My clients are grateful. And I can't thank you enough for that. Besides that, your friendship as well means so much to me. Greg, thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Your Cup of Joe. Stay tuned for the next one.